Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of ScriptlyAdapted. I'm Keone Howard,
and I'm Kate Knowles. Hi, guys.
Today we're going to talk about a very special film that I think is very special.
Yeah.
It's getting a lot of attention, a lot of movie buzz, Oscar buzz. Award season, is coming up soon, so this might be a huge contender. This is Fruitvale Station. New cast, real fresh faces. Forrest Whitaker produced the film, so that that's pushing the film into the mainstream. Okay, let's get right into Fruitvale.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis without giving too much information away. In 2009, on New Year's Eve, a man by the name of Oscar Julius Grant, I believe, the third.
Mm-hmm.
I believe.
Yes.
He was just he lived in the Bay Area. He was going into San Francisco, or Frisco, as people in that area call it, with his girlfriend and a bunch of friends to celebrate the new year. And they decided to take the train in to avoid traffic and all that. And, they get into a little bit of an altercation with some people on the train. And before you know it, it gets blown out of proportion. The cops arrive and, he gets shot.
Right.
By one of the cops.
Right.
And it was not one of those stories, that we really heard about. At least I had never heard about it.
I've never heard of this story until I saw the film.
Yeah, and that's why I really think, this movie is a social call. And I think it was released, it's an independent film. We saw it at the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens.
Yes.
And Melanie Diaz, who's one of the actresses, was there. And it really ties in. It's very poignant right now because of everything going on with Trayvon Martin.
Right.
And, I think it's definitely allows people to see a call for justice. I was moved to tears. I mean, The film is so beautifully done. I mean, Ryan Coogler, who wrote and directed it,
yes,
is a young 26, 27-year-old African-American man from, I think, the University of Southern California.
Yeah, USC.
Had a dream, wanted to tell a story, but it wasn't just telling a story. He really filmed it in a way that got you to feel like part of Oscar's family, part of his life. They highlighted just the last 24 hours of Oscar's life. There's one scene that sticks out in my mind, right after he gets shot and he's in the hospital and the family's waiting for him in the waiting room. They do a flashback and it's like it's not a silent scene, but all you hear is music.
Yeah. And
it's kind of filmed in this dreamy sequence of him with his daughter, and it was the most moving scene in the entire film for me.
I thought,
I loved it.
I thought one of the most moving scenes in the entire film was when he got shot. He had a sense of he looked surprised and he looked shocked, like, what, like, really, I just got shot. And he just kept saying, I have a daughter. That's all he kept saying. I was like, oh, it broke my heart. I'm sitting here, I'm a grown man. It broke my heart. It was the way he just filmed it, and the way he was just saying, I have a daughter. And as you watch the film, you understand why that's the first person that comes out of his mouth is because their relationship was just so dynamic and so loving, and despite all of Oscar's issues with his baby's mother and / girlfriend, with his own mother, and his own demons as far as selling drugs and being out in the street, he still was a great father. He still was a great son, and he was trying to be a great man.
Product of his environment, and he had not so good experiences. He was incarcerated, and I think it was him really trying to turn his life around because he knew what the expectations were for someone of his, race, for someone of his environment, for someone of his upbringing, and he wanted to defy those odds.
He was really young, and to take on that responsibility, and to see him progress in the film as a young man, and struggle, and fight for being. Fight for not having people just think that he's just a drug dealer or that he's just this hoodlum, but more than that he's a good man, that he means well, and that he's, he loves his family, and that's all you get. That's what you get from the film.
One of the women in the audience had brought up an interesting point about the waters, and how waters in biblical sense have a cleansing property to them, and throughout the movie you see him dealing with a lot of water. Like, there's a scene where he's about to do a drug deal, and he's at the water in the bay, and he's just sitting there, and he dumps the weed in the water. And it's kind of like this almost cleansing
yes,
experience for him, because he's being rebirthed.
Yeah.
He's rebirthing himself, and I think that to me was the basic undertone of the film. Talking about the acting, Michael B. Jordan, who is primarily known for his role in The Wire, HBO's The Wire, was phenomenal. First of all, he physically emulated Oscar Grant to a T. Ryan Coogler nailed that.
And you gotta remember, Kate, this was on YouTube. This whole shooting, and this was caught on YouTube, so you kind of get to see.
Shooting. Yeah, I see what you mean.
You kind of get to see what he actually looked like.
Yeah.
And in the film,
they show a real
Michael B. Jordan, like you just said, really looks, like Oscar, and it was just really. It's almost haunting in a way to watch it, because the way Coogler sets up the scene, the final scene before Oscar is shot, is exactly the way you saw it on YouTube when it was on YouTube, because they have the raw footage.
In the beginning of the film, they start out the film with the raw footage. So, and that was just, talk about emotional impact. Michael B. Jordan was fantastic. He really nailed the role. One of really the only big name actresses named Octavia Spencer. All of you know she won Best Actress, right?
Best supporting
actress for
The Help.
She played his mother, and she was so dynamic. I mean, she's dynamic in everything she does. I love her. She was great. She was a great pick. And Melanie Diaz was feisty, and she said that she typically gets auditions for stereotypical roles of Latin women,
right?
But she felt that Ryan really kind of portrayed Sofina in the way that was strong and feisty, but yet vulnerable and scared at the same time. And she really nailed it. She was good too.
She really nailed it.
The acting was great.
Octavia Spencer, I must say, she just portrayed a mother.
Yeah.
So well. I don't know much about Oscar's mother. We don't know much about her, but from what I watched in the film, was that she was a strong woman who loved her son. Loved her son, loved her family.
Yeah.
And she would do anything for them. But also having to deal with what Oscar did in the past, it hurt her.
Right.
But it never strayed her away from keeping that relationship with him.
Right.
And I definitely got that from Octavia. Just a strong presence of a woman in the film. He had very important women in his life.
Right.
His mother, his daughter, and his girlfriend.
And
they were all there for him. And it was strong characters and strong performances.
I think his mother really enabled him to be a good father to his daughter. Right. Those were the 2 points that really stuck out to me: the way it was filmed and the acting. And so, Kira, tell me what was what really stuck out to you during the film?
I loved going through the last 24 hours of him, which is essentially the entire film. But what I loved about it was that we got to see just him being a good person.
Yeah.
You have him helping a woman who's confused about a recipe, and he gets on the phone to call his grandmother to talk about the recipe, and he helps her. You see in the film, which was probably exaggerated, I think, but a dog gets hit by a car, and he runs to the dog, holds him in his hand, and starts crying. He just begins to cry.
Yeah. Which
just showed you the pure emotion he had, just that he cared for people and animals, and just he was a good person who was just trapped in a world of bad choices,
and
temptation. And it was hard coming out of it, but he was trying, and that's what I really liked about the film. I like that Coogler he was giving us a glimpse into a man's progression into a new life.
Right. What really stuck out to me was really, I think the one thing that made the huge impact was the way it was filmed. I think Ryan Coogler really highlighted the emotion throughout, not doing such harsh angles or anything, because directors have.
It was a very simple.
Directors have to find a tone to go with the story. That's how, at least how I think a movie should be directed. You find a tone that's appropriate to what you're talking about. And I think it was soft and emotional and yet vibrant at the same time. This movie is very important, specifically now. Like we mentioned in the beginning, has a huge social impact due to the case of Trayvon Martin.
Right.
Trayvon Martin really hit the news hard, really got the country in an uproar. It's unfortunate that a story like this didn't.
Right.
Apparently, for those of you who don't know, the cop that shot him was charged with murder, but his defense was that he mistook his taser for his gun, and he walked away after 2 years.
Unbelievable.
So he wasn't really.
He didn't serve 2 years. He served only 11 months. He was sentenced to 2 years.
Probably due to good behavior.
Only served 11 months, by the way.
And I think what that does is it just shows you that the justice system is not just in many ways. And it's really poignant, and I would not be surprised if planning the debut of this movie was not a coincidence. I'm sure Ryan Coogler's objective was to release this movie appropriate to the time frame.
Absolutely.
Because I think as a conscious young black man, obviously, which he had to be to do a movie like this in the first place, he would have to think about when he wanted to release it. What better way to do it?
What better way?
Through the arts and how this is a huge medium of how you can reach people.
Yes.
Make people, and I think you can't be afraid to be angry.
But this was a very important film, a very important time for the film to come out. I think it needs to be seen.
Be supported.
Go out there, go see it in your big theaters. Go support your local theaters. Like we always say, go support the local theaters, especially in this case. It's a film that needs to be seen and should be seen.
That's it, guys. We wanted to, really highlight this film and do it justice. So stay tuned for our next show coming soon, and thanks for tuning in.
See you later. Till next time.
Bye.